There is a whole world of cinema waiting to be discovered. You just have to overcome that 1-inch barrier known as subtitles. This is That 1-Inch Barrier, a foreign cinema podcast dedicated to movies from all around the world. My name is Kieran Griffiths and joined, as always, by Nicola Barrow, Josh Barry. Gentlemen, how are we?
Ready for a drink. Ready to get drunk.
Yep, drinks are on the table.
Yeah, we've prepared for this episode.
What is? That's
I'm
in
the
movie.
teacher.
Nick's got a water bottle full of vodka. Josh and I have got beers. And we are prepared for this episode's film, which is the 2020 black comedy drama film, as it's described on Wikipedia. Another Round. Directed by friend of the show, Thomas Vinterberg. Good friend of the show. Director of The Hunt.
It's a one-way friendship, by the way. We love him. He does not know
He won't return my calls. And starring the patron saint, the other patron saint. Mads Mikkelsen.
The true love of all of our lives.
Yeah.
Apologies to all our partners, but...
I mean, can you blame us?
No, they understand. Mads is...
That is one sexy Dane. But this is one of our Oscars episodes.
Yes.
We're talking about a winner of the Oscar for Best International Feature Film, and this one at the 2021 Oscars for a 2020 film. As we said, Another Round, which we'd all seen before.
Once.
Yes.
I think we'd all seen once.
All seen once, probably when it came out. So it's been a few years now since our last viewing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. I think we were all really excited to watch it again, go back to it.
Tough for us to, as we pointed out before recording, we all gave The Hunt, which was the last Mads Mikkelsen, Thomas Vinterberg film that we covered on the show. All of us gave it 5 stars. One of our favourite foreign language films. So yeah, it was definitely an arm twister to get us to really ramp up for this episode. But I had nothing but fond memories of... Fond is an interesting word because the black comedy aspect threw me off a little bit. Because while there are moments of this film which you do chuckle at, I definitely see this as a drama. I think more so than anything.
Yeah,
but,
I would. I think...
I know there's aspects of it that are sort of... There's a joy to certain aspects of the film, but I think, comparatively to other black comedies I've seen. That's interesting.
It is interesting.
It's
wouldn't call it that.
definitely more of a drama than a black comedy.
Yeah.
You know, when we talked about things on the last episode like The Nice Guys and In Bruges and Martin McDonagh films.
Yes.
In general, they're black comedies.
Yes, for sure.
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Banshees of Inisherin, Shane Black stuff like The Nice Guys and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yep.
Those are black comedies.
Yep.
This definitely leans more into the dramedy.
I think that's a good way, actually, a great way to describe it,
But the synopsis for Another Round is 4 high school teachers consume alcohol on a daily basis to see how it affects their social and professional lives.
Which I think you just call most high schools in Australia.
Yeah.
These guys are drinking some more, bougie stuff. You just get them a goon sack. They're pretty happy in this country.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of my high school teachers had a bottle of Bundy rum in the desk drawer.
There's a flight at the bottom of every bottle.
That's the official tagline, isn't it?
That is. That's made famous by me, I think, for some reason.
There wasn't a rum on Caxton Street that was safe when Nick was about.
We don't talk about those days anymore. That's for a different podcast. This movie was very triggering.
That's right.
But as we mentioned, directed and written by Thomas Vinterberg, starring Mads Mikkelsen and Thomas Bo Larsen, so a bit of a Hunt reunion.
Yes.
And I think that seems to be a common theme, especially I think in European and Asian cinema that we've seen, that directors like working with the same actors. Obviously, we see that in Hollywood, but I think there is more of a personal relationship between filmmakers and actors in these films compared to...
I guess because it's a smaller community as well.
Right.
Like Hollywood is this giant... Hollywood is basically America, right? Like that's the sort of landscape you're working with. But yeah, when you are centralized to, certain parts of Denmark or certain parts of South Korea, I think that's you sort of like... Once you find something that works, you don't want to branch out too much because of it could be limitations as well. But it's not a bad thing.
No, and I think you see
chemistry there.
You see Martin Scorsese working with De Niro or DiCaprio often, but that feels very much like a sort of creative professional relationship. Whereas I get the sense that Vinterberg, Larsen and Mikkelsen are all friends.
Yes.
It feels like this
seem like they're similar ages as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it definitely feels more like a personal
Yeah.
collaboration
Yeah.
as well as a professional one, and I think
Yeah.
that really comes across in the films that they've made together.
Yeah.
Very much so this one, which kind of relies on the chemistry of the four lead characters to have this immersion into the believability of not just their friendship, but the experiment, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, that they are putting forward in this.
Yeah,
film.
so it follows these four teachers, these four friends, and they're obviously very, very close, tight-knit friends who've been friends for a long time, which we do see in The Hunt as well. They're
Yes,
obviously
yeah,
a very
sure.
tight-knit group of close, similarly aged male friends. And they're all teachers at the local high school, and they're all sort of, I guess, middling in their lives. You know,
Yeah.
they're in their middle age, they're sort of directionless and a bit aimless. And one of them raises this notion that there was a study by a professor that said that humans were born with too low blood alcohol content, and that to sort of reach our peak performance, we need to be always a little bit drunk.
Yes.
And so they sort of dismiss that idea initially, but then as they each become more disenfranchised with their own lives for different reasons, they decide to, hey, let's maybe give this a go and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, so they all start sort of drinking throughout the day and you know, increasing that more and more, and then the ramifications come in.
Yeah, I mean, the first part is 0.05% blood alcohol level.
Yep.
Which is the legal driving limit in Denmark.
Here,
Yeah.
well,
Here as well, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I assumed it was 2%.
Yes.
Well, I was
Holy
aiming
hell.
to get there. I was like,
what do
God,
they
I
get
was
to
trying.
in this? Like 1.2 or something? And they are, I'm not sure. And
Just drive faster,
like,
you don't get caught.
I think that's what they sort of say, that philosopher had said, that 0.05 is kind of the peak. You're obviously still okay to drive.
And they the biggest thing that they bring up as well outside of that is that there's this argument about Ernest Hemingway, you know, one of the most revered authors of all time, who
And
it was
Churchill.
written, and Churchill.
Yeah.
And the thing they say about Hemingway is they go, he would drink until 8 p.m. and then cut himself
it
off so he could still be okay the next morning. And then they go, like, imagine if Hemingway didn't drink, what, you know, if he didn't, he wouldn't
Yeah,
create
and
these.
if
these
Churchill
muscles.
didn't drink, would you know, the Allies have won the Second World War? Like, it's posing those questions as like a,
and
you
it's
know.
so interesting as well to see how they make that comparison to being high school teachers to be like, how can my life improve if I just drank through the day? So they come up with this rule initially: they can only drink during
Till
during
8
the
o'clock.
day to 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to be like, you know, what are the, and I think that's the question that's presented by Thomas Vinterberg in this screenplay, who I believe he co-wrote it with Tobias Lindholm.
Yes.
I believe. The question they put forward is that the joy that that everyone talks about experiencing in life, do we have to bring that forward artificially in some way? Is there not enough joy in, I think the biggest example will be Martin's character, Mads Mikkelsen, of his family life kind of falling apart. Is he the problem, or is the fact that he doesn't have enough artificial joy in his life the problem as well? And I think it's very interesting
It is really interesting.
perspective because, I mean, in a very candid way, I haven't been drinking for 4 months now since recording. And
Nick thinks he's better than all of us now.
and I'm pretty fucking cool, man.
He says with his water bottle filled with we don't know
That's
what.
just gasoline. That's just straight up. I've gone to the
Methylated
hard
spirits.
stuff. Yeah. But more so in the sense of like, not egged on by this film or anything, but I had a point where I went like, do I need, because it was very famously on record that I was very good at drinking.
Piss
Arguably.
fit, I believe, was your
Piss
description.
fit was
which
the word.
I'd never heard
In a
before.
very, so that's how you
That's
know.
my favourite new terminology. Amazing.
In a very Donald Trumpian sort of way, it's like, I was the best at it. I was the greatest drinker in the world. But
Everybody knows. Everybody talks about how good I am at drinking.
Little gold drinks. Me. Best drinks. Best drinks ever made.
Why does that sound like Donald Trump crossed with RuPaul?
Yeah, it was. No, it was drag queen Donald Trump. That's my new character I'm debuting soon. But now I'm getting ideas. That actually sounds fucking hilarious. But in the sense, I had that same thing where I went like, if I stopped drinking, could I, you know, just still have fun? Because that's, you know, I watch a lot of sport, which is a very drinking based thing. I think that when we were doing like trivia stuff, like we'd have beers like throughout all that. So it's been an interesting sort of experiment for me for the last 4 months, and you know it's been going well. So, but it was interesting watching this film from a point in time in 2020 where actually during COVID, during that lockdown period, I probably drank a fair bit. Like, you know,
I think everyone did.
I think we all did. We were all,
What
I was
else
at
was there
home.
to do?
It was quite well
I was
known.
at home
Yeah.
polishing, and because beer is my drink of choice, so that automatically turns into like bloat and weight gain and stuff like that. So it was very interesting watching the film then in that time of my life and watching it now, having not had a drink in a while. And I think I had two very different experiences, which is very, I think, says a lot about the film and what.
What was it you said a few episodes ago? The films don't change, we do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great example.
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I
that.
think it was a very interesting experience watching this film again. So, which, by the way, spoiler, love.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be much of a
No,
surprise.
no.
Love this film. But yeah.
It is interesting, I think, that Mads's character seems to be, at the start, he's the saddest, he's struggling the most. But
He wears that on his sleeve too. God, Mads is a
well,
good
he
actor.
does, yeah.
He's just,
And again, the eyes, like, it's
eyes,
just
man, it's
all,
the
you
most-
see it, you
it
see
is
the...
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a sick dog.
Yeah.
Like it genuinely is like,
it is
I
actually,
want to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's the most hesitant to start trying and start drinking, which I find, I found that really interesting, especially watching it the second time, watching his struggle with it.
Sure. Yeah.
And
he probably has that most fleshed out background of like, there is a lovelessness in his marriage. He feels disconnected from his two children. Like he's
and
not
also
really,
his job. Like
and
he
his
really,
job,
like obviously in it, the parents,
who
they
are going
get
like,
a meeting because they're all
our children have to
complaining
do this exam, and
the
they
kids are
basically just
complaining
go,
that the teacher's not
"You're
doing
their
anything."
teacher,
Yeah.
you're the problem." You know what I mean? So it's
Well, that's it. The four main characters in that: Martin, played by Mads Mikkelsen; Tommy, played by Thomas Bo Larsen; Nikolai, played by Magnus Millang; and Peter, played by Lars Ranth. They all kind of have this different ailment within their personal lives, right? So Martin isn't feeling like it's a loveless marriage. He's feeling that his children don't respect him or appreciate him. Tommy's recently gone through a divorce.
Yes. Yeah.
Nikolai has two very young children and a wife that doesn't seem very, happy with him.
Yeah. It's incredible how we get that information through one phone call, by the way. That scene is incredible in the car. Just the bluntness of that phone call, you get perfect screenwriting.
Yeah, I mean, the storytelling and the character development in this is so well done. And that's Vinterberg and the scripts. And then Peter, we don't find out as much about Peter's personal life, but we know that he's a middle-aged man that's still single.
Yes.
And so he's obviously feeling the effects of that kind of loneliness. And I think I was reading through reviews on Letterboxd after I watched this a second time, and I was reading through reviews from people that I follow, and I don't follow too many people. Most of them are people that I know personally or have interacted with through Instagram in that film community. And there was a review from, I don't want to single them out, but someone who I've met through Instagram and who has some really great takes on films, and I really respect and value their opinion. They're super insightful and usually know more about movies than I do. But they gave it a pretty negative review and sort of said that it was just about drinking some is good and drinking too much is bad. And I thought that was a super reductive analysis of the film, because I think this isn't a film about alcohol consumption. It's a film about male loneliness.
Absolutely. And it's about, like we were saying earlier, it's about what is the antidote to that, and what are people willing to turn to for that? Because it's funny that they have this lonely feeling, but this is something, again, about Thomas Vinterberg films, I think you said a little bit earlier. The male friendships are always central to this film, and it's kind of incredible, right? Like, there's not many films that showcase male friendships in such a outwardly loving way, I think, as well. Like, if you get a lot of Hollywood films where it's like a rough and tumble, like The Boys sort of things, but the affection that these guys show each other, this main four, is quite loving and it's quite tender, and they're always there for each other. They're out for these dinners. They talk quite candidly to each other about, like, Martin's, I can't remember who brings it up to him in the dinner, but someone just goes to Martin straight up and goes like, "You're depressed, like there is something wrong and it needs to be fixed." What they turn to fix it is alcohol at that point, but what starts as a fun experiment. But I think to that point, that male loneliness is such a subject of the film, and it tries to present so many antidotes to that, where I think, it's not just about drinking make you feel good, too much make you feel bad. In fact, it's the caveman approach to it. There's so much nuance in this film, and a lot of it isn't even in the script. It's things like Mads Mikkelsen's eyes. It's kind of what's not said in some of those moments as well. And I think it's just, the way that the hunt was sort of constructed around this one major event, I think another round is constructed around a feeling more than anything. I think that's quite incredible. I think it's a powerful film for that reason.
Yeah.
And I think it shows how that feeling creeps into everyone's life differently. Like we said, every character's going through something different. Martin has a wife, has 2 boys, is
almost everything Peter wants, right? It's quite funny.
But at the same time, it's sort of hinted at that maybe his wife is having an affair because the 2 of them don't love each other anymore. His sons very clearly don't respect him. They just walk all over him in the house. And as a teacher, we find out that he was a pretty accomplished academic at one point, but then sort of just got didn't really pursue it, and now his students don't listen to him. They walk out of class while he's talking.
It's like cyclical, right? It's like they don't give a shit, so he doesn't give a shit, so they don't give a shit.
Because you can tell he's lost the love for it as well.
And he's lost the love for life, as they all have. And I think it's so emasculating. And not that traditional concept of masculinity, but it's like, what do I have if I'm not respected by the person who's supposed to love me, by the children I've raised, in my profession? Like, it's so unfulfilling, and I think that is the core of the film.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's interesting as well that he is trying to talk to his wife about it. But she's so busy with her job, and they work different times, and they've got the kids, and I guess he doesn't try too hard. It's almost in the moment he's trying to say, "Oh, can we just have a talk?" And she's busy.
Well, that's the catalyst for it, right?
That's right.
He says to her one night, she works night shifts as I think a nurse or something like that, and he says to her, "Do you find me boring? Like, am I still the same man you married?" And you would think that your loving wife would say something like, "Oh no, like we're not kids anymore, but I still love you," and she just sort of goes, "Yeah, I guess you're not the same guy I married, are you?" No. It's like, fuck me, lady.
Wow. You're like, geez, that 0.05% BAC is not looking too bad now.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of his catalyst, I think, to start it, because everyone else, like the other friends, are all kind of really trying to like push him, and he's like, "Oh no,
it's a fun idea at first as well." And then he is the one who starts it. He's the one who brings the bottle of vodka to school that day, and he's just like, "Fuck it, let's give it a go." And what that then branches out into is quite fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
And we start to see the positive effects when they get up to that 0.05% in that, Martin has more engaging classes, and he's getting his students really involved.
Yeah.
He
seems more passionate about it.
Yeah, he's reinvigorated.
Booking kayak trips for the family and stuff, and he's camp sexing his wife and stuff like this, That's when you're in true love, when you're willing to fornicate your missus on the hard, cold ground of Denmark. That's true love.
But Tommy is the PE teacher, so he's he's coaching these kids, and he's giving them like these
The soccer game scene's great. It's like under sixes soccer.
Specs.
But you think it's like the World Cup final with the way that
all
he's
three of them are there cheering as well. While he's got the vodka water bottle just having a little.
One of the kids is like, "Can I have a drink out of your water bottle?" He's like, "No, this is grown-up water." But they all start to have these better effects in their personal and professional lives, and because they are teachers, they kind of approach it initially from this academic perspective. Like, okay, we need to actually document it. We need to write it down.
I love that aspect of the film as well. I think it makes it even more intriguing because as an audience member, I would love to get almost like a poll of people who would be like, "Oh yeah, that's fun that they're doing that way," or how many people go like, "That's just the excuse." You know what I mean? Like, that's the piss poor excuse to be like, "Oh no, this is an experiment." Oh, well, in all experiments, we've got to push boundaries. What if we go to 0.06? What if we go to 0.07? You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see the viewpoints of different people to go, like, what is... And I think it's so fascinating. And I love the way Vinterberg presents that on screen. Yes. I love the way he presents text messages on screen. It's almost like these title cards that have their own sort of, placement in the film. Like, I think it's just incredibly... artistically creative for sure.
The visual storytelling is really impressive, phenomenal, as well as the like we talked about earlier with the character development. But obviously as they continue to push the boundaries, and I mean the once you get to 0.05 and you're always at 0.05, that starts to feel like nothing. So you're chasing that next high, right? Yes. You're going up to 0.1 and then 0.2. And it sort of starts to have those adverse effects. They're slurring their words in classes, and the relationships that they'd rekindled start to break down because of, they're turning up at home drunk.
We do get a fantastic scene in the supermarket when they're trying to buy cod,
Wow.
which I think might be one of the funniest scenes of the film, is watching all of them just walk around the store.
The drunk acting in this is phenomenal.
so
Some
yeah,
of the best
yeah.
I think I've ever
But did
seen.
you
Yeah,
did you
it
read they never drank once on set?
Not on set.
How incredible is that? So they did those.
So
bonding
they
things,
did
right?
some tests. They did like the
Research, of
0.05,
course, you know,
yeah,
yes, of course.
0.05 limit. So they tested it
And
see
sort of
how
watched
they
the
felt,
felt,
and
yeah.
and they also tested 0.08.
Nice.
But
Very scientific.
for the higher ones, which Mads said, quote, Charlie Chaplin level drunk.
I love that.
They watch YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Mads said, for some reason, mainly the ones who film themselves are Russians when they're that drunk.
Wow.
So they watch a lot of Russian YouTube
I love
videos of drunk people.
That's so
But
good.
it's so spot on. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we've all interacted with drunk people.
Yeah.
We've all been those
Yeah.
drunk people.
Absolutely.
And it's just, they nail it.
It's spot on. It's
Because
so
there is a night where they sort of, that's kind of
They have their big- yeah,
the
the-
peak when they go so far with the drinking. And then
And
they
Martin
all-
almost walks out beforehand. That's the big thing as well. He kind of
Yes.
sees the detrimental effects.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want this to continue.
And then he has one taste.
But then he has one taste, and he kind of, even before he has that one taste, just as he's about to go, it's kind of that like I have fulfilled so much of the joy that I've been looking for. I don't want to give it away just yet. And it's quite interesting that build up to him taking that drink, his reaction to the drink too. It's almost like he fucking came. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
it
this
is, yeah.
strong,
Yeah.
visceral reaction.
Yeah.
And that leads to, I mean, the argument about why the store at that time of night doesn't have fresh cod, and any month that has an R in it, there's fresh cod available. It's probably one of the funniest things. Him just drunk arguing with the store clerk.
Meanwhile, Tommy's falling over in the background and knocking shelves over.
That shot of Tommy when after the bottle's been knocked over and Peter stumbles away, and then Tommy just puts his hand out and just goes and just walks, might be some of the funniest bits. It's the Wolf of Wall Street
Yes.
Quaalude scene
Yes.
level of like fantastic drunk acting. Like
that's a good
phenomenal.
comparison.
And then you've got the
In the
scene of
streets.
is it Martin? No, not Martin. Sorry, Nikolai, the music teacher. Because he's fallen into the
my
harbour.
God, that's right.
So he's in his underpants in this bar, playing piano. Mads is dancing on the bars.
Yeah.
It's chaotic, but I think then you have the realization afterwards. You have the morning after
There's
where
a
they
dark
go,
undertone to it, isn't there?
oh
Yeah.
God, we've gone too far. And
Nikolai
that's
is-
when they can the experiment, because
Yeah.
Martin has the conversation with his wife where she goes, you know, me and the kids know that you've been drinking
Yes.
non-stop, I've had enough kind of
Nikolai
thing.
pisses the bed.
Yeah.
Which he blamed on his son initially, which is great, as we all did. I don't have a kid, but I still blamed my kid. No, it was our son who pissed the bed.
Nick, we don't have a
son.
What happened to my son? But I think it definitely, it really does show that kind of taking it too far thing, but without being sort of really overly dramatic Hollywood cliche.
100%. There's no big musical like score sting to come and emotionally manipulate and be like, the boys are fucked up. Like they did a really bad thing. It kind of leaves you to wallow in it for a little bit, because even though this is towards the end of the film and it is arguably like one of the basically the climactic sort of moment of the film, you kind of sit there and go like, oh, I've really enjoyed watching them enjoy life up to this point.
Yeah.
And then immediately you're sitting there going like, did we fuck up?
Yeah.
Did we let this, as an audience member, you kind of go like, did we let this happen? Like it's quite incredible.
Because you do, like, they do bond.
Yeah.
Like, they really bond over it. And
But
it's
you-
even that night when they're walking from the pub and they're, like, down the street and they're like, I got a real sense of, like...
Because how many times does that happen? Like, no matter how close you are to someone, like, we've had drunken nights that have been so much fun and incredible. And, like, you're like, these are the bestest people in the world.
Yeah,
you know
I'm
what I
going to
mean?
remember
Like,
this night forever.
literally.
yeah.
And then I wake up and I go, oh my God.
I'll
never
do that
drinking
again.
again.
Like, did I fall asleep on Caxton Street? I did. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But to see a group of, like... And you kind of don't see that much either, like, grown men just like kind of going out on their own. And,
and I think like you were saying before, like that male tenderness.
Yes.
You know, that genuine male connection in such a healthy and respectful way, where it's not this like, dude bro-y.
The boys.
Well, I think of something like, you know, like with a group of close male friends in like Ricky Stenicki.
Yes.
That is the American equivalent, right? You know, like,
no, it is.
You know, boys, bros, beers.
Or fucking each other up and stuff and putting each other in stupid situations.
Yeah.
You know, it's that jackass thing. Like, whereas this it's what, you know, it's so real and it's so genuine, and it makes you feel like you're a fly on the wall watching these four friends.
I was going to say that it feels really real. I think we said that about The Hunt.
I think we did too.
Like the way he tells the story and
there's this
films
authenticity
it.
to it. Yeah.
There's, you know, a fair bit of handheld camera, so you do feel like you're fly on the wall watching this realistic.
Well, that's
story.
it. If you told me that the four main actors had been friends since they were kids,
you'd believe it, right?
I'd 100% believe you, because that connection is so authentic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Whereas you watch, American equivalents, and you can tell that these guys met each other, you know, 6 months ago when production started.
You can't fake that sort of chemistry, hey? That sort of authenticity.
No, and if they, you know, if they don't know each other from before the production, then that just really
to them for it's quite incredible.
Yeah.
Those drinking nights really helped.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think, like we said, it really comes back to that element of people being unhappy with their lives and going to extremes to try and find that happiness again. And I think, I don't want to give away too much, because I think this is a movie that does have a few things that should be discovered for yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
But by the end of the film, most of them, without alcohol, have kind of found that love again.
Yeah.
And have lit that fire underneath themselves.
It's almost that thing is like, you don't know how good you have something till it's gone, right? And then I just think in this case, they use the excessive use of alcohol to push things away a little bit further, but just enough that if they pull themselves out, they're still within reach. And I think there's something quite powerful to be said there as well, is that there is a quite realistic situation for a lot of people where they don't find that limit in time, and they can push something away so strongly, you know, with any sort of substance abuse or whatever your poison is, I guess, to the point of irreconciliation, you know what I mean? So it's quite nice that this movie, in not giving too much away, somewhat has a happy-ish ending, you know what I mean? So I think
it's a cathartic.
Cathartic is a good word, and I think that's more powerful than what could have been in some senses. So I think
I think it's really moving, because not that the three of us, you know, none of us have kids. Not married, but I think
that we know of.
Fingers crossed there's no little me's running around out there. The world does not need that. But I think, you know, how easy is it to imagine that point in your life where you feel like you have everything you should have. You have the wife, you have the kids, you have the job.
Everything that society tells you like is pointed towards, like, this is good.
But you still feel so empty and unfulfilled. It's like, other than, you know, Tommy, who's gone through the divorce, none of them have had like this massive, dramatic, traumatic thing happen to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just normal stuff that are happening to men everywhere, every single day. There's the guy who's burnt out.
I think that's what helps that authenticity as well, is that, like you said, there's no big Hollywood emotional moment. It's just like, this is just kind of how it can be.
Yeah.
That's quite amazing.
Just guys being guys.
Yeah. Guys being dudes. But like, at the same time, it's still, despite being so mundanely realistic, it's such an engaging film. Like, there was no point of this film where I was bored, for lack of a better word, where I was disinterested in what the characters were doing. I felt so connected to a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
It's just the power of like the authenticity and realism of these people as people helps the connection, helps the emotional connection to the film. And that's just, you know, powerful filmmaking. But I also think that's testament to the performances.
Oh, yeah.
We love Mads. Don't get me wrong. This is the House of Mads. This is the House of Bong Joon-ho. Like, we love them both. But holy shit, Thomas Bo Larsen.
Again, because he's fantastic.
Yeah,
The Hunt.
both of them in The Hunt and in this.
Is he the Nick Nolte of Denmark? Because I think about
He
Nick
is
Nolte in Warrior, which I'm on record as saying is
yes.
like one of my favorite sport movies, favorite movies ever. Like, that drunk performance of that is kind of like, I got Thomas Bo Larsen is just Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yes.
That man's a force.
Yeah.
And he has to play.
Up well as well.
He does, but I think as impressive as Mads is in The Hunt and in this, I think Thomas Bo Larsen has the harder character.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because I think his character in The Hunt as the father of the girl who's accusing his best friend of abusing her.
Yeah.
That's a tough performance to do. And then this one, Tommy is sort of the one of the group who kind of takes it too far.
Too far. Yeah, sure.
When they've all given up, he's still drinking at work.
He continues, yeah.
And that's a tough performance to do and not come across as sort of a big bumbling idiot drunkard
For sure.
caricature. But he does it really well, and it's so emotional without feeling manipulative. And It's so authentic. So as much as we love Mads, I don't think I can sing Thomas Bo Larsen's praises.
Yeah.
He might be the
Highly
performance of the film for me. Like we said, this is the House of Mads, but every saint needs their patron, like the most next to them. And I think Thomas Bo Larsen's up there, slowly becoming like an actor who I might seek out some of his films for his performances. Because he's truly incredible in this.
And then, you partner them with Magnus Millang and Lars
They're
Frantz.
all fantastic. Yeah. They're brilliant.
They all really, you don't think of them as individuals almost. It is that group of friends. You can't really separate them. And by the end of the film, you feel like you're a part of that group.
Yeah, you do.
When the film ends, you feel like you've lost a friend.
I want to see what happens to the next. And I want to go,
Yeah.
I would say I want to go out for a drink with these guys, but I'm not sure that I do.
I'm not 100% sure. yeah. So that brings up actually something that's quite interesting that I wanted to talk about, because obviously, and it almost kind of goes into that review, the Letterboxd review you were talking about before, about how it's drinking can be good, too much drinking bad. So coming into this film from the perspective not having alcohol for a little while and stuff, the difference that I sort of had with that is that very early on, I missed it. There was a point where I was like, fuck, this is right. This is actually what I miss about having a drink. And there was an element of it oh, you know what, I could do it again. And then as the film went on, I was having these sort of personal reflections of oh, but I've done that before and I don't know if I'm proud of that. And I've done that before and I don't know if I like that. And I remember the fucking hangovers and I remember this and that. And it's kind of interesting to sit back and now go from a point in time where in 2020 when I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, that was a fucking great movie. And you know what, it has, I'll do the drinking, but I'll do the fun part of it. This movie, it's just having a completely different mindset into this kind of made me go I think I made the right decision. In the sense, there's no point of this movie where it outwardly condemns alcohol.
No,
which is quite incredible.
Yeah, I wrote down, I just think it perfectly shows both sides of alcohol. It really, as you say at the start, you're like, this is so nice. They're bonding. It's just a really nice time.
I could have cracked a beer watching this. I was feeling it.
Yeah.
And that's also then what reminded me, when I started jonesing for it, I was like, hold up a second. I was like, I don't think that's a good thing. But it's good. I'm glad I'm self-aware enough to then be like, hold up a second, there's a reason we stopped. But it's so true. It's not a movie that is outwardly condemning it or telling you that it is the solution. It's I think to have a movie that is so bipartisan for it is, again, fucking Thomas Vinterberg.
It's a really mature approach. But it does remind me of one of my favourite quotes, which is from The Simpsons, and that is, to alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
That's right.
It's true. That's right. It's very true.
Yeah.
So
The production of this film is a really interesting one.
Yes.
So it originally started life as a play that Vinterberg had written while he was working at a theatre in Vienna.
interesting.
An inspiration for the play came from Vinterberg's daughter, Ida, who talked about stories of drinking culture within the Danish youth.
Yes.
And that's kind of how the film starts, right?
We see the beer run, right?
Yeah.
The lake run or whatever.
All these high schoolers, partying and drinking excessively.
Which
like fun.
actually does happen.
Yes.
The beer run is a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing, yeah.
I would vomit so much.
Yes,
But it's okay. It's just a small time penalty, so it's good. You just got to do it together.
You just
If
got to
you're
do
the
it
team,
together.
everyone's got to puke. It looked like fun. I won't lie.
So Ida, Vinterberg's daughter, originally pressed him into adapting the play into a movie.
Yes.
And it was originally a celebration of alcohol based on the thesis that world history would have been different without alcohol, which we talked about with the Hemingway and the Churchill
You said in an interview you watched with Vinterberg and Mikkelsen that they said, imagine if, I mean, this is quite wildly speculative, but imagine if Hitler had a couple of drinks. My only argument is I'm pretty sure he was on fucking methamphetamines for most of his life. And I don't know if you've seen the videos of Hitler like spazzing out.
But maybe just 0.05.
Maybe just 0.05 in the
We
world.
could have avoided this whole thing if we just let him into art school and given him a couple of beers. And there'd be no zone of interest.
Yeah. There's actually, now I'm starting to think there's a lot of variables there. I don't think we could have avoided that.
Yeah. That was,
Sorry to derail you.
No,
Sorry.
I just realised how awkward this is going into this bit after laughing.
I know,
I
think we all know this one, yeah.
So 4 days into filming, Vinterberg's daughter was killed in a car accident, which
that's heartbreaking.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So she was going to be in the film.
Yeah, so she was going to play Martin's daughter who got obviously
I think
changed
as well
to
with
sons.
especially like that's heartbreaking as it is, and there's no way of like making it better or worse. But I think in a film as well where a father's relationship with his kids is kind of central to one of the characters' plot is just fucking. That's brutal. That's tough.
It is brutal.
Yeah. So following the tragedy, the script was reworked to become more life-affirming. And Vinterberg said it should not just be about drinking; it was about being awakened to life.
Yeah.
And that really comes across in the
Yes.
film.
For sure.
As we said, it's a film about male loneliness and male friendships, and it is a film about finding life in life again. And so
It's heartbreaking, but it's I think
so. The film was dedicated to her and was partially filmed in her classroom with her classmates.
nice.
Which is just
That's lovely.
That's tough.
That's
It's
rough.
so tough.
It's
And then
it's
to
awful.
just put out an Oscar-winning.
like,
Such a beautiful, poignant film that it really is life affirming.
Yeah.
Like you watch this and you feel like you're. I mean, you're crying, but you're ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
You just feel.
We all got chills in the final scene.
Of course.
I'm guessing, which is the
Yeah.
most fantastic way to end this movie.
Yeah.
Utilizing, not to spoil anything, Mads Mikkelsen's dancing skills in a very. I mean, if you are watching this podcast and you are sort of around the world of foreign cinema, you have probably heard, if you haven't seen this film, about the final scene, the final dance number of this movie. It's
utilizing Mads Mikkelsen's real life.
Yes.
Dance skills because he was a dancer and gymnast before he became an actor.
Yeah.
Did you read? I read with a little bit of trivia about this. So, the song "What a Life" that plays at the end.
so
Did you read
good.
this?
No.
So this is uncanny valley sort of stuff. So Mads Mikkelsen would pick up his daughter from parties, the Danish drinking culture, because the drinking age is 16.
Yes.
Yeah. So parties, they're having a drink, and occasionally a guy would come and he'd drop the guy home, and he was always taking a case of beer with him, and he had this sort of rock star sort of, thing to him. And he did a couple times, and Mads didn't really get to know the guy, but was just dropping him home and, being a good dad as Mads is, because he's the best at everything.
Wish he was my dad. Sorry, Dad.
That guy, hey. Daddy Mads. Daddy Madsy.
Maddie Mikkelsen.
That guy is the singer of What a Life.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, his band does the song, and then
wow.
Mads only put it together once the film had done. He knew the song, and
There you go.
how's that uncanny sort of
that.
valley stuff? Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Another round has been in a gestation for so long. Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah.
which is it's a great song.
it's the
if you talk about
perfect-
life
it's
affirming.
just-
That is a lovely song.
Yeah.
I think that, as you said, the film couldn't have ended any other way. I think it's such
Do
a
you-
beautiful way.
the
to
final
Do
finish.
shot
you
is
take it as a happy ending?
Cathartic is, I think, the best word. Like what I said before, I think I feel catharsis because, without spoiling anything, there is an event that.
Yeah, but I just saw
suppressing.
a bit of a review, really saying that it's a sad ending, that he is then leaning back into alcohol straight away.
I think,
And I didn't
for
take
me-
it that way.
For me, I think it's neither a happy nor sad ending. It's sort of a realization, and it's an acceptance and an
Yeah.
understanding.
Do you think it's like a lessons learned sort of ending? Like they've pushed it so to far
I think
one
so.
to extreme that they've
And
gone, okay,
they found the balance, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a traditional
they're-
happy ending.
No,
it's not
no.
a really
Their
dour
first
ending.
first drink after like the event, right, is almost back to the beginning where it was kind of like
right.
the hesitation of the experiment.
That's right.
Are we willing? But they were kind of like, but no, we kind of need this now for this emotion we're feeling.
yeah.
And then we immediately see the next what the next feeling can be with another drink.
And that's the thing with Mads' dancing, right? Is it's something that they all kind of, jokingly tease him about. And keep trying to get him to dance throughout the film, and he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And that's the first time throughout the film that he does it.
And then kills it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Holy
those
shit.
dance moves.
Yeah.
I think I'm pregnant now
Daddy Madsy.
after watching that.
Daddy Madsy.
But that's like the most alive in the whole thing you see him, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and that's, I think, him finally dancing and finally letting go of those inhibitions.
Yes.
It's that release.
Yes.
I don't want to say too much without spoiling anything, but do you think there's a potential of that feeling that it's not necessarily a happy ending because of also a rekindling that happens as well? Like, do we think he's just like, maybe hasn't learned to say... That was the one bit of the movie where I had some, not trepidation for the story, but that was the only point where I went, does this lead to something else? Whoa.
sorry.
That's all right.
Someone talking to me.
Hello. They've infiltrated the podcast.
And we've got our first caller.
You're on the air. You're on the air with that
Where
one.
are you calling from? I think he was calling from India. Sorry.
That's gold. Sorry. Maybe we can't talk about that too much. Without spoiling anything. But you know what I'm talking about. Sort of what he goes back to. Like, I don't know if that's probably the only minor like character trepidation I had. It was like, okay, what does that lead to? Is that happy or sad drinking? You know what I mean?
Well,
like, I can see
and
that.
I think that's what this person was saying.
Sure.
It was like,
very interesting.
yeah, you obviously had a bit of a problem.
What's
What's going to come? Yeah. And sort of the jump into the ocean was a bit
I
like.
love that. And the freeze frame. God damn.
I saw one like, is he going to drown or swim?
Yeah, okay.
And then that's up to the viewer, which I thought was quite cool.
I think it's, like we said, I think it's the perfect way to end that film.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it leaves you with the right feelings.
Yeah.
And everyone will take their own interpretations away from that. But I think for me...
Which is always good, I think.
That's it.
Yeah.
You don't want an ending that spells everything out for
Yeah.
you and tells you exactly, you should think this thing and you should feel this way.
Yeah.
I think it leaves a lot of it open to discussion. I think, some people can watch it and go, yeah, it's just about drinking too much is bad. Whereas I went, okay, this is, these are men who are feeling unfulfilled and empty in their lives and looking for a way to cope with and improve their situation.
Yeah.
So I think that for me is the biggest takeaway from the film.
Engaging from start to finish. It's a beautiful screenplay. Amazing performances. So well directed.
Yeah. When you say all that, I'm like, yep, cool, Oscar. But initially, and I remember first watching it and then thinking, wow, I can't believe that's the
Oscar winning.
It's not a.
It's not an All Quiet on the Western Front.
It's not a generic
Parasite.
Oscar film, is it?
But I wonder if it feel like an Oscar film.
But I wonder if at the time when it came out, like we said, we all saw it at a time when a lot of the world was turning towards vices, I guess, for lack of a better word, to get through a fucking tough time globally.
That's right.
I wonder if the time and the place of the release of this film resonated with people so much more.
Because Vinterberg said that he thought that this would really resonate after the pandemic had finished.
100%, yeah.
But
I think it does. But I think even more so, just like premiering at TIFF during, like, just as things were slowly opening up, we've all just come out of this time and being like, I just did this experiment for fucking 6 months, you know what I mean?
Right, that's right.
What else was nominated for
good question.
International Feature that year? Because that will probably tell us...
Yes, and I did look this up just before. That's going to take longer now because
you've been doing all these international phone conferences.
Phone calls.
It was scheduled to premiere at Cannes until Cannes was cancelled.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cannes got canned.
Cannes got canned about the movie about sinking cans. There we go. That was terrible.
And
I've had 2 times today where I've said something, which is probably happened way more, but they were 2 noticeable times where I've gone, this needs to be cut, Kieran.
I think there was The Collective.
Oh,
which I haven't seen.
Jesus, that is brutal.
Yeah. Is that a
It's a documentary, yeah. God, there is footage inside the nightclub of the fall. It is fucking harrowing.
So it was another round which won. Better Days from Hong Kong. Collective, which was
Yes.
Romania. The Man Who Sold His Skin, Tunisia. And I love titles that aren't in English. Quo Vadi Ida,
Oh yes, I've seen that.
Yes, I've seen that too. Yeah,
which
yeah.
was
It was
from
good.
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. That might pop up on the show one day.
Yeah,
when we
feel
decide to
like
go to
going somewhere
Bosnia.
real
Yeah.
different. I haven't seen any of those.
I've seen that one.
I've seen
You've
QVI and Collective.
Yeah.
Of those ones that you've seen, another round.
Oh,
the
yeah.
best of the...
Yeah, I think
Definitely the
Another Round's-
best. Almost like probably the one that isn't in English feels probably
More
like
Oscar
an
baity, I guess you could say. Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's funny, Another Round doesn't necessarily feel Oscar baity,
No.
but I mean,
Love
it's the
it.
full package,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Star ratings, Nick. You threw me under the bus
So,
last episode.
no, I did. I did.
So you're straight to
I
it.
was anticipating
I hold
this.
grudges.
So I had trepidation initially. It was the second time I've used that word. I'm very intelligent. after
Word
our
of the
Stalk
day.
episode. Of giving this The Hunt 5 stars and being like, can a director do it twice? And I genuinely believe he can. And I think Another Round's a 5-star movie for me. And I don't think it was on the first watch.
Okay.
But I think this time around, I think it's crept up from
Was
probably
it like a
4.5 to,
Yeah.
I think this is a 5-star movie for me. I think its rewatchability is actually a big player in
Yeah.
that. I would find it harder to rewatch The Hunt.
Oh,
funnily
definitely.
enough.
Yes.
But I think that's a subject matter thing.
Yeah.
Well, the
Another Round,
Hunt just leaves you with a feeling of emptiness and depression.
which is why we gave it 5 stars in the first
So a
place.
good double bill, The Hunt and Another Round.
This will pick you up after.
Yeah, or do it the other way around and then kill yourself at the end.
Yeah, that's it. Hey.
We don't condone that.
Denmark's
not.
taking us to some dark places. So yeah, I was initially hovering around a 4.5, but I think after I watched it yesterday, the day before recording, and I just left it as a 5-star movie for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Josh?
I'm a 4.5 on it.
Yep.
I did look back at the first time I watched it. I gave it 4.
Yep.
But yeah, second viewing has gone up a notch. Just rewatchability.
Something about it,
I definitely. It's taken 3-4 years to rewatch
Yeah.
it, which
Yeah,
is
it's
a bit,
true,
a
actually,
bit
yeah.
crazy. I can see myself watching it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the next year, I can see myself putting it on again.
Yeah.
It's I got a lot of like the bondage of
The bondage.
the bondage.
Did we watch the same movie? Did you? Oh, sorry. You watched the one that wrap it another time around. Yes. Sorry. I sent him the wrong link. Sorry, Josh.
Male bondage. Yeah. I got a lot out of that this time.
Oh god.
That's how you watch it, isn't it? You watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you filmed yourself doing it, which counts as a movie, I
So,
guess.
yeah,
And you were
it's-
talking in a foreign
Home
language.
video.
Yeah, that's it. You're speaking Bosnian or something. It was, we counted it.
4.5. I did think to myself, I do wonder, I know we said The Hunt, Mads' best performance. I think this goes pretty close.
They're going toe and toe with each other.
They really
Yeah.
do. I mean, that first scene when they're having dinner, and you can see him really struggling.
The facial work that he does is really impressive.
It is, yeah.
He's such an emotive actor.
Yeah,
Especially for, I don't think he raises his voice, I think, once in the film. But the
Drunk
range,
too, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
the range of emotion that he has is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm a 4.5. I was a 4.5 the first time, and I'm a 4.5 again.
Yeah.
But as weird as it is to say about a film like this, I think it's going to sort of develop into a bit of a comfort movie.
absolutely.
I can
see myself watching it and being like, damn,
Yeah.
I fucking love life now.
What a life.
Yeah, what a life. And it's as we talked about, I think the performances and the characters are really what make the film.
Yeah.
It's not the most stunning visual film, but I think with a lot of Scandinavian and European cinema, when they're doing drama, they do keep it quite grounded.
It's about the characters. It's about
They're very narrative and character driven.
I will say, even just on a visual level, the final sort of 10 minutes of the film that takes place like by the Danish seaside is beautiful.
There is some beautiful
There's some
shots.
really beautiful shots.
It's not like an ugly looking film,
totally,
but it's very naturalistic.
It is. As
and
we
the
said before.
choreography and the whole just shenanigans of the final dance scene is just this explosion of color and stuff. Like it's quite beautiful.
So 4.5, but I will happily probably watch this again every 12 months, and I think it's just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah,
agreed.
The film is slated to be remade in English.
Oh yes,
it has been for a while.
I think it's been picked up, slated to be directed, I want to say by Chris Rock.
Chris Rock and
starring
potentially
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, but this has been around for a little while now, so I don't know if there's enough traction. I hope it dies. It's sort of just
there is nothing that can be gained by remaking this film.
No, you're not going to do it any differently. Like. It's not even that it's like a cultural difference in the drinking culture and stuff. Like it's just...
What if we remake it in English and replace the cast with Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider,
dude. We call it Grown Ups 4,
Kevin James,
but it's a really sad Grown Ups 4 in which they're all divorcing their wives.
It's that cast of Adam Sandler and his friends, but it's Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems.
And we need at least like 3 fart jokes, and then I think you'll have the perfect American remake. Did you see Thomas Vinterberg's comments about them remaking it though? He was like, "Oh, sure, like as long as they, don't fuck it up, otherwise Chris Rock will probably get slapped again." Hilarious.
No, I did not see that.
Scandinavian humor. Mwah, chef's kiss. Love it. Great work.
As always, Thomas Vinterberg.
By the way, sorry, as a tangent on what is Thomas Vinterberg doing?
That's a good point.
I want to know what he's doing next because this was the last film he directed, I believe. Another Round was the last one. He did a mini-series called Families Like Ours. Last year, allegedly. But come on, Thomas, like...
I'd be keen to watch that.
I want more, man.
On SBS or something.
I need more, man. If the way these guys are jonesing for alcohol, I need more Thomas Vinterberg in my life.
This is, I think, the biggest gap in his career for films.
Oh, what do we call it? Families Like Ours hasn't even come out yet.
Right, okay.
So we'll be keeping a close eye on what Mr. Vinterberg is up to.
Oh, we will.
If he ever returns my calls and emails, I'll let you know.
Traumatic experience, obviously.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, God,
Trying to
absolutely.
Sorry,
I don't want to take away from the fact
Nick's
that
like, fuck that, give me a movie.
Yeah, we want movies.
We want movies.
Oh, he's a master at what he does.
Oh, incredible. He did some music videos for Blur and stuff. Like, wow.
There you go.
Not Song 2, not the iconic.
What's the point then?
But what's the point?
But that was another round. I think we all loved it.
Loved it. Yeah.
I think we're all massive fans of Thomas Vinterberg, and he's got a lot of other films out there which I really need to watch more of.
Same, yeah. I've only seen The Hunt and Another Round. Like, that's the only two.
Did he do Festen?
I've
I've seen that a long time ago.
Okay.
Far From the Maddening Crowd was him as well.
I
Celebration
haven't seen that,
was him as well.
Yes.
So he's got some pretty good films in there. And I mean, Mads Mikkelsen could do a ad for hemorrhoid cream and I'd probably watch it.
I'd probably give him an award for it too. Just the sadness on his face as he applies the cream to his painful hemorrhoids.
It'll all be in the eyes.
He looks like a sick dog.
And on that lovely note...
what's the next Oscar movie?
Parasite.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Parasite was
wow.
the 2020 winner, the 2019
But,
film.
Gosh.
We've got a load of episodes coming between
I know.
then. We've got.
So
there's a bit of a wait.
But thank you all for joining us for this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we had enjoyed watching it and talking about it. If you haven't seen Another Round, do yourself a favour.
Yeah.
Grab a beer or two
and
watch it.
Just two.
This episode was the elevator pitch. Like, if you're not convinced, you need to see this.
But it's a fantastic celebration of life.
It is.
So definitely check it out. Our next episode will be coming in a couple of weeks, and that will be Josh's pick.
Yes.
Which was
On Body and Soul.
On Body and Soul from Hungary. So keep an eye out for that one. Make sure that you are subscribed to us on YouTube, following us on podcasting platforms, socials, our own socials, because we're desperate for attention and need to feed our egos. But other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Any final thoughts, gents?
No. Sorry, I wanted to think of something, but I couldn't. I was like, I'm not drunk enough. No,
so we're going to go and fix that right now. See you all in a couple of weeks. Thank you again.
Bye.